Good morning, Northwest Indiana. This is the Town of Dyer Show on January 28th, 2026. I am your host for this show, Bob Starkey, Dyer Town Council President. With me today, I have our Fire Chief, Joe Martin, and our Town Manager, Dave Hine. Hello, gentlemen.
Morning.
Joe got excited when I said, "Hey, Joe." So let me take a step back. When we do this show, for the most part, we take whatever has been announced or whatever the feature story is for our monthly newsletter, and we bring those folks in just to give some background and stuff. When I went in the office the other day, it looked like you got a 2-pager coming out in our thing, and you guys have done a lot of work last year. So Joe was excited at the thought of spending 20 minutes on air talking about his fire department and his crew and what they're doing. A couple updates of what's going on in town. Dave and I were just talking. We don't necessarily have any new updates of new things going on, but we do have a lot going on. If you've driven up and down Calumet Avenue, you will find that from north of 213th all the way down to the almost 30, you're going to see Tsunami Car Wash is under development. They've got that fenced off just north of Texas Roadhouse, sorry. We've got the Althoff townhome subdivision going up. We have our amphitheater in Central Park going up, and then just north of 213th, we have the daycare. Dave, I don't know that we know the name of the daycare yet. I don't think they've named it or let us know, but that'll be a daycare facility going up there. That's an interesting piece of property where it's there's. For a long time, and I think there was even a foundation at one point in time, I think, for a church that was built there. But that was maybe 10, 15, maybe even longer ago.
Correct.
But there'll be a daycare there, some townhomes eventually. We're even acquiring a small portion of that property for a lift pump station to be able to get all of the stormwater out of Northgate and into the creek. So that entire development's going to really be not just an asset for the new homes and the daycare, but for our stormwater purposes on the west side of Calumet. All of that water in Northgate, we're going to be able to pull out of there. You've seen over the last 4, 5, 6 years, every summer something's been happening in Northgate with infrastructure, and that has been tying all the different pieces together for stormwater to get that out of there. So that's been a long time coming. So that's been a lot of work. Dave, we had Nick D in for the South Shore. Are there any updates on that, when that might start, or what's going on there?
It's hard to believe we're almost done with January already, but per Nick D's words at our last meeting, that they are definitely going to be up and operational mid-March, so that's right around the corner. We were sharing any ride share or any cost programs they have. We'll share it on our social media and get it out there.
I think I don't know if they were teasing. This is one of the I'm a big teaser, and I don't know these guys know if they were talking that their bosses liked holidays for ribbon cutting. So I don't know if I think the only thing in March this year is St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. So maybe there'll be a St. Patrick's Day ribbon cutting. I don't want to put that out there because this is we were supposed to see this rolling, I think, last June or July, and then October, and then February. And
there's not much to do in Chicago on St. Patty's Day, is there?
No, there's not a whole lot going on. But as soon as we know. Truly, as soon as we know, we will, post that out there. There will most likely be, when we know the opening date, I'm sure there will be a lot of fanfare. So I doubt anyone will miss that.
Yeah, and I think this project, as it opens and ribbon cutting, is a great piece of collaborative effort here. When this all started, everybody was apprehensive about train stations and pushback, and realized then there really wasn't a pushback. That the project was coming. We needed to embrace it, and we needed to make it what we can for best for Dyer. I will say I've worked great with the residents over near there. I understand their concerns. We all do. It changes the landscape. It changes what you see outside your house. And for the most part, I would like to say that I think NICD has presented a pretty good product over there. They've screened where they promised to screen, and we're still working. So
yeah, and some of it too. Towards the end of the year last year, they started some planting. I'm not an arborist, but I have to assume a majority of that stuff is probably going to be dormant until nothing's growing right now. So if they said, hey, we're going to put these trees and bushes up for screening, and they look like twigs, well, quite frankly, everything looks like twigs right now. So there may be some adjusting that, as the spring and summer goes on for those residents, especially those residents over there on Seminary. But I can't think of a single time that they haven't thought of a concern that we've then brought to NICD and found some type of resolution. And that's gone from screening, adjusting how the roads go, putting up emergency ballards so people can't drive here and there, and where the station is positioned. If you look at a Google map, you might think, oh, well, people are going to be parking over in Seminary, over in Northgate, walking over. That's just not going to happen because it's the distance. Once you're standing there, you kind of realize, oh, this distance is, that's not going to happen. We've got the Kiss and Ride lot on our side. There's a huge parking lot on the Munster side. And so I think for probably what the ridership expectations are going to be, I think it's going to be okay. And to your point, yeah, when it came, I think a lot of people were apprehensive about it. But once you realized that it was going to happen, we just had to make the best of it and work with it, and they've done a good job.
And I think one thing that I think is a unique way to look at the train station is, and I've used this analogy before, my generation, you mentioned the Learning Center on Calumet Avenue, the daycare that's going in there. That's where I played as a kid. So I was a generation that stayed in Dyer. That's very, very odd for this area. Most generations go to college and never come back because there's not opportunities. I've said and stressed that one of the main things I think the train station will do is give people an opportunity to stay at home and tap into a job market in Chicago, tap into the colleges in Chicago, and be able to stay here second generation, reinvest in the community, reinvest in the house, put an addition on the house, redo siding, stay there, instead of going, I went to Bloomington, I went to Lafayette, and I never looked back. Yeah. Trader Joe's has been one of the big, when are you getting to Trader Joe's, when are you getting to Trader Joe's? One of their marketing schemes is they do a broad search of the area, and they determine how many college degrees are in that area. Well, we are not a highly populated college degree area because most people, like I just said, don't come back around once they've ventured out of the nest. So maybe this train station will flatten the curve a little bit and bring that back to where, I can tap into that market, make some decent money, and stay at home.
We have every once in a while, I don't know if people like the term, and I don't even know where I got it, but the idea of a bedroom community, which is more or less, my estimation is you live there, but you don't often work there. Now, we have a lot of great employers in town. We have hundreds of businesses between the Franciscan Hospital and the schools. We have just thousands of people come to Dyer every day to work. But, we don't have massive industry or corporate headquarters. So it is more of a commuter town. So hopefully that does help in a way, that as people decide to, where are we going to move? Well, Dyer is, 4 years running, God willing, 5 years run, the best place to live. We've got, amazing amenities. And so maybe folks will look to Dyer and say, I don't want to live in Illinois. I want to live somewhere that has good schools, safe streets, and that would be Dyer.
Well, in government, you've been around a long time, that you can't make everybody happy. So you got to shoot for some kind of 80-20 in there to really be successful. And, for those of us that grew up in town and it was that small town with nothing to do, we begged for things to do and we begged for businesses. And now you get them and you got a section of the population going, I want the farm fields back. I don't want the congestion. I don't want the stoplights. Well,
can you sorry, Joe. We'll put the fire talk on hold for a second here. This is just Dave and I talking Dyer now. Do you remember when that McDonald's came into the BP on Main and Calumet? Now, I know that was Munster, but I just remember living on Northgate forever that was so huge to get that stuff. And now for them. I think we've teased it here and there, but Panda is coming between Taco Bell and Speedway. There's going to be an access road built back there. So even this upcoming year,
Panda Express is a huge addition to that area. It's a I don't want to say unique business. It's not, but it's different. So
it's certainly unique for Dyer, which is how we felt when something like Chipotle or Seven Brew came in, where 10 years ago we would not have expected these types of franchises to look at Dyer.
Yep.
And now we're, I think the Wingstop is just a couple weeks away from opening. So,
well, and kind of segue into what our guest here today, Chief Martin, is that businesses is what drives our community. We are driven off of property tax dollars for how we run the town, and so when you see empty buildings sitting there, and businesses not in there, it does hurt us overall. Our assessed value is very important. We're not like Illinois. We don't collect off the register, like they do in Independent. We collect off property taxes. So, again, that's a whole different show of how the governor's new program of trying to cut property taxes. It may seem like a good idea at the user end of it, but for government, it's a terrible outlook for the future. And
it is, and unfortunately, I think it's just going to be a pivot to some other type. I mean, the revenue has to be generated somehow, because the revenue that was cut, despite what everybody's, all the graphics you see on social media, the revenue that was cut goes to the general fund, and the general fund funds police and fire. And so,
it's simple. It's simple. If you cut the funding for police, fire, parks, potholes, everything you see, if you cut the funding, you can't survive by cutting those services. So you got to make it up somewhere. And
in addition to that, we also they cut what they call the CCMG grant for those in town that are listening. That's just the money that we get from the state that they've collected through gas tax and all these things that all these other ways that you pay. And it was not just Dyer, Schererville, St. John, Cedar Lake, a vast majority of the communities. We would get $1 million, $1.5 million. That pays a lot of road, and we just don't have that now. And so
we're fortunate that our economic outlook for the town is strong, so we're able to survive these initial type blows to the revenue. But long term, it's going to affect a lot of people, a lot of towns, and we just got to make sure that we come up with a solution. And we have our fingers crossed that downstate kind of comes to their senses. But
but I do, as much as that's doom and gloom, I feel bad for a lot of communities. But we are so well placed. This amphitheater that we're building is paid for. The community event center that we're building going to be paid for. Joe can speak here in a second too. And maybe you even have an updated timeline. You're getting a new engine that is a little over $2 million, a little over, a little under.
Whoa. How did they get there?
No, you know what? I actually think Bob's on the right path here. Because, thank you for that. Is this recorded? This is on the record.
Yeah, this is on air right now, so everybody heard that.
1.5 is what I remember.
We're going to need a medic from Hammond in about a second if we keep this up.
For Dave. Dave's having an issue over here. But no, we've got that in the bank. So we've got many projects that are multi-million-dollar coming up, but we have that all in the bank, and we're not going to have to bond out for these. It's paid for. The minute that this new truck rolls in, it's paid for, and it's up to you guys to keep it running for the next 20 years.
25
if it's $2 million. Joe, Chief Martin, I want to talk about your department posted some graphics on some of the things that you've done in 2025. 2025 was a banner year, in my estimation, for the fire department. The move to 24-hour staffing, talking to residents, which is just a high watermark to how everyone already thought your department ran. Nobody realized that even over the last 5 years, our fire department has evolved in many ways. And so for people not to realize until very recently that it's now a 24-hour staffed operation really just speaks to to yourself, your leadership, and all the folks that you have working for you, that they maintain that level of service on their own. So I don't know if you've got a whole list there of 2025 things. If you want to just start talking about your fire department here for the next 15 minutes or so, go for it.
I heard 50 minutes, so I got 50. Yeah,
50 minutes and $2 million.
Lock up when you're done.
Yeah, and thanks. When you called me a couple days ago and said, "Hey, do you want to talk about the fire department?" He originally told me 30 minutes, but I'll take 15 any day of the week. It's huge. I mean, you're right. It's a banner year, but I think every year we've had has been a banner year in the last few. Whether it be, I know 21 was kind of half year. I mean, you and I and Chief Alcott started at the same time, and we got things rolling. Each year we made huge steps, whether it be staffing, whether it be operations, equipment, all along trying to impact the culture. And that's the most important part of our department. I know the guys are sitting right now, hopefully not sitting in the day room listening to this thing, judging every word that I say. But we were the first fire department in about a decade and a half in Northwest Indiana to go to 24-hour in-house staffing. And you can't understate the monumental impact that has. I mean, Saturday we had a structure fire. Immediate response, we're on scene in a few minutes, and what could have been, we had 3 structures going with a large vehicle. If there would have been, staffing 6-7 years ago, both those homes are now livable. Everybody stayed in those homes that night. They don't a decade ago. So that impact is huge. We had a small fire last night that I know I shared with Town Manager Hine. We always update him when things are going on. Again, the immediate response led to something that was very small, stayed small. It's the EMS side, it's the fire side, and we're not always doing something crazy every single day like you see on the TV shows, right? But we are there in-house all the time, staffed, ready to go, right out the door. We still have our paid-on-call contingent, so if anything large happens, everybody still comes in as a combination department, and it's worked very well for us because last year we had a 19.6% increase. We had 2,200 calls almost. That's a good amount.
That's big for us.
That's huge, and you got to think the development is a great thing, right? One thing that people don't even see on the other end is all these things. We just finished the plan review for the daycare on Calumet yesterday. Our fire inspector, Chris Vershek, is a whiz when it comes to codes and everything, and we want to make sure all these buildings are completely 100% safe as much as possible before the ribbon is cut. So all those things come into play. Calls just increase. Again, being that community where everybody commutes to work during the day, a large volume of our calls happen between 8 and 8 p. So making that jump, and we've made small jumps, right? We went to 8-hour staffing, 12-hour staffing, and then in May of this past year, we went to 24s, and that was huge. Again, everybody in that community can rest assured that right away you call 911, you're getting something right out the gate, which is just monumental. It really is.
Yeah. I think the baby steps is important that Chief Martin spelled out. In 21, when we started as a team, meaning this whole group together, it was, we know where we want to be, but we know we can't get there overnight. And a lot of it is fiscal restraints. We're handcuffed. We can only do what you can do with. So I know Public Works would want 5 more employees. I know Police Department would want 5 more. I know Fire Department. So we have to make sure that we take the steps to get there, but also make it sustainable. We talked to Chief Martin originally. We don't want to be the first firehouse in Dyer's history to be 24-hour manned and then be the first one to back off of it and go back to 12-hour manned.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to maybe at least announce that we have a great partnership with a private ambulance service that provides some EMS and paramedic service around the clock too, so that allows us to supplement what we do too is here. Each community is 100% unique. What works next door may not work for us. What works for us may not work to the south, to the north. So Chief Martin has done a great job to come in and kind of present this is what works for Dyer. And, I got to tell you, there were some long, hectic days on the dry erase board of where we think we need to be. Yeah. And we knew that, Chief Martin coming into the picture was a great energy that we needed for the town. But we also knew that we were going to have to show him the financial side of it. Mm-hmm. And that's always the tough final answer.
And that's tough because, when you come into where Dyer was at in 20, so we'll just say 5 years ago, we'll round 5 years ago, and to say we want to be where we're at today, we didn't know that it would be in 26. that would be, first you think, well, how can I make this happen by the end of the year, by the end of next year?
Yeah.
And then you realize that, no, this is a very long process in order to do it right.
Yeah.
I think we've seen a lot of communities around here just, jump headfirst into shallow water on, okay, let's buy, 2 ambulances, hire, 6 EMTs, hire 4 or 5. And yeah, we could absolutely do that at the February meeting, but boy, that March meeting would be very difficult.
Yeah.
And so it's a slow growth, but we've also shown, I think, the residents, the businesses, and even internally that it's been consistent. There's consistent growth, and we are doing it within our means, and somehow, some way, each year we provide a better service. And now you said last year, a near 20% increase, I think it was. Yeah. And we're still providing that level of service where, I think folks come to expect it, but not in a demanding way. They just know that that's what Dyer offers. I like to say it's not bad to live in a community where the 2 biggest complaints that we get is in the spring, and kids don't be doing this, but in the spring, there's going to be a kid with a spray paint can go into a park and, spray paint a slide, and it's all over social media. And then in the fall, it rains and leaves don't get picked up for a few weeks. If those are our biggest issues in town, sign me up to live there any day, because, and now, like you said, that incident, I think it was over the weekend or early in the week, you make a call, and our folks are there. There's no lag time. They're there. I think that's huge.
And I think one of the big things to point out too is it's not even just the staffing. I mean, any fire department, like you said, can go. Any town can say, hey, you're going to get this many engines, ambulances, and firefighters. But ultimately, who are the people actually showing up to your emergency, right? Yeah. And we're very fortunate. I mean, top to bottom, we have a great staff. And I don't just say that because, we're on the radio or whatever. I truly believe that. Like, we saw, I mean, heck, just Tuesday, right? Was that this Tuesday? Last Tuesday? Everything blurs together.
It does.
Yesterday was Tuesday, right? So a week ago, a peer-based vote for Firefighter of the Year, it was a kid's 22 now, and he just started out a year and a half ago. And he's came in and proven himself so well that you have guys that have been doing this for 30, 40 years putting his name in for Firefighter of the Year. It's the culture we've created and cultivated collectively, and we have some amazing firefighter EMTs, firefighter paramedics, officers, and that I think that also shows. We logged 355 hours of training last year. Now in 23, that was the year that we really, I mean, we had long, huge 40, 50-hour classes each month to catch the department up on a lot of different things. To also set a foundation so that, one, we had that base of future management leadership, but we also had a succession plan in place, right? Which I think a lot of fire departments fail at is making sure, hey, town council says Joe Martin's gone the next day or whatever happens, or I get hit by a bus when I walk out of WJOB. We have those plans in place. That year we had a ridiculous amount of training, 20K, right? But this year, not only did we log the amount of trainings, but for the first time in the history of this town, we got to a point where every occupancy that needed a fire inspection had a fire inspection. And that's huge because with our fire inspector going in, with our deputy chief going in and making sure that all those fire and life safety code inspections are up to snuff, it's gigantic. It's monumental. And a lot of people don't see that because they see the things that they see on the TV shows and the movies, and young firefighters want to go and go to jobs and do the thing, and we get it, right? But at the same time, on the back end, administratively, and more importantly, on a safety end, going into each one of those occupants is making sure that they're safe to operate. Even every now and then we'll see on the Facebook pages, people will post things, right? Yeah. Whether it be at this and you see them as well. The last time something was posted to social media about a fear of a fire code, we were in there in 10 minutes, and it was on a Saturday. Yeah. Like, no hesitation, we're on it, right? And I think that, again, it's a lot of behind-the-scenes things that people don't see. But, yes, you see the engine out every single day. You see it going all over the place. I know a lot of people, and I've had it before, why is the engine sitting in front of Jewel right now? Well, you know what? Because the guys that are working 24 hours today, two guys that are on a reverse 24 right now because they need to eat lunch and dinner. They need to get their food. I know that it's more comforting seeing that thing out and about, ready to pounce on whatever emergency there is. It is. Than hoping, who am I going to get? So,
It makes sense, and I think what we talked about earlier is the 80-20. 20% are going to find something to complain about with it, and you just have to understand. Thank you. We appreciate your feedback, and we'll still be there for you. And I think the culture that Joe had mentioned earlier, if I could take a second to hit on that, putting together a fire department, like you said, is not as easy as we're hiring. Come here tomorrow. What our town has put together through what's going on now is you have a lot of energetic younger people that have gotten some great mentors over there that maybe have done a career in Chicago, and they're done on the paper with the city of Chicago career or wherever they may have came from, but they're not done for the love of the fire service. So they come around and they share it with the younger generation, and that is the most priceless thing I think that we can have in our organization. I don't know, for many people don't know, my grandfather was a Chicago fireman, so I still have that fire geek inside me. So when the truck does come down the road on 30, I do peek out the window and see what it is, which way it's going, what truck it is, and it's no longer it's a fire call. In my position now as town manager, it's $1 million truck rolling down the road to what? There's more things going on behind the scenes than people realize, and I think we put together a pretty decent place for you there, and the young kids that you mentioned are the next generation, the future.
Yeah.
Our future is very bright. Our present is very bright. Our future is even brighter. And like you said, I mean, even a couple of those things, for the second year in a row, our department had the State of Indiana Firefighter of the Year. Both years in a row, it happened to be, last year was Chicago Jim. 36 years in the CFD, decided to come to Dyer after he moved here, and then a guy who hates attention, so I can't wait to send him this link later on. Mitch Crooker, right? Yep. He's nationally renowned. He was just posted on Brothers in Battle on Facebook and Instagram yesterday. Golick sent me the thing, said, hey, look, there's our guy, right? You got a guy who retired as a battalion chief in the busiest battalion in the city of Chicago. The first firehouse he visited last year was Dyer, and he said he was so impressed by the culture he applied. And that's a guy working shifts in our town, teaching the Josh Warrens, like you said. Yeah. Mitch received that award this year. Our operations chief, Scott Hemrick, was the Indiana Fire Officer of the Year. Second year in a row, we had the Crossroads Chamber Lake County Firefighter of the Year. It's pretty impressive to see that all these things are kind of mounting up, and it's also kind of like, oh, geez, pressure's on. We got to keep this going year after year. But it's huge, right? Internally, you could see Chief Alcott had mentioned something after the last safety board meeting. He said, everybody loves everybody over there, and they do. It's a dysfunctional family like any firehouse is, but you could tell that genuinely these people hold each other accountable and they care about one another. And to mention, yes, the $2 million, the $2 million, about $1.7 million, right? So, and people see that number and they go, oh my gosh, right? However, though, it is slated to be here this November. Fantastic. So that will be our frontline apparatus when it's in place. It's a 75-foot quint, so it has the water, it has the capabilities, it has all the stuff. We actually even said on a fire we had the one we had Saturday, and then we had a call this week. I said yesterday we were at a place, smoke in the building, right? And I said, the quint would have been perfect on this, and they all just nodded and agreed. So we, when we think about these things, it's months and months of planning. It's months and months of putting it together. It's months and months of me going, hey, Dave, this is why, this is how, and how can we make it happen? So, November, getting that in place is going to be huge because that will be the right out the door 24-hour day staffed apparatus, which is huge.
I want to wrap up because we're a few minutes over, but that's okay. Send me your letters, I suppose. This is the Town of Dyer Show on Wednesday, January 28th. I am Bob Starkey, the Town Council President. With us today is Dave Hine, our Town Manager, and our Fire Chief, Joe Martin. Real quick, Joe Martin, you got 10 seconds left. If folks have a question or a concern, hey, I don't know if my CO detector is working, I don't know if my smoke detector is working, can you guys come out and help me and take a look at it? How can folks get a hold of you if they have those type of safety concerns?
Yes. If email's preferred, fire@townofdyer.com. It goes to myself, all the fire chiefs. And then 219-865-4226 is the firehouse number. Now, if it's emergent, if it's making a noise, call 911 immediately. Right. We'll get the bells of St. Mary's going. And keep in mind, if you're a Dyer resident, we have a program, and we didn't even get to that today because there's so much to talk about. We have a program. We install the most smoke and CO detectors of any department in Lake County, free of charge, all off grant money that doesn't come out of the budget or anything, in Dyer residents. So if anybody's concerned or needs a service like that, please reach out. We do car seats for free. We install and inspect your car seats. Tomorrow night we're going to change out a Project Lifesaver battery. So yeah, just get a hold of us any way possible, and if we don't have the answer, we will find it for you as soon as possible.
All right, you heard it here, folks. This has been the Town of Dyer Show. Thank you very much. We will catch you next month.